Hello my dear students, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to learn what is figure of speech. So as a part of the discussion on the topic Russian formalism, particularly the concept of defamiliarization, we are going to discuss what are the figures of speech. So we know that figure of speech or figures of speech that will make your writing more colorful. So these are the devices. These are the devices using to defamiliarize from common language to the language of literature. So this is the purpose of figure of speech. So let's start the video. Here there are so many types of figure of speech. So one by one we are going to discuss. So have a look before we go through in detail. So first one is simile, next one is metaphor, alliteration, onomatopoeia, hyperbole, personification, idiom, oxymoron and palindrome. So these are the devices, these are the figure of speeches we are going to discuss in detail in this video. So be ready. So first we are going to tell what is a simile. So we know that a simile is the comparison of two things using the word, two unlike things using the word like or as. So simply we can say that a simile is a comparison of two unlike things using the word like or as. So there is one example. He eats like a pig. He eats like a pig. So this is a comparison using the word like. This is a simile to address a person who eats a lot. So this is a typical example for simile. Next one is you are as pretty as a picture is to present like you are more beautiful. You are beautiful or you are looking pretty. So this is the intention using behind the usage of this simile. Okay, next one is metaphor. So what is the difference between simile and metaphor? So simile is a comparison of two things using the word like or as. So metaphor is also the same, comparison of two unlike things. But here there is a difference. Metaphor is a comparison of two things using the be form of auxiliary verbs. We know that is, was, were, are. So these are the be forms. So here we don't use the words like or as. So there are examples. He is a pig. He is like a pig. It's simile. Now here he is a pig. It is metaphor. So there are more examples. You are a tulip from a meditation for his mistress. This is a phrase from the poem of Robert Herrick. The title of the poem is A Meditation for His Mistress. So the example is you are a tulip. So if it is like you are like a tulip, it will be a simile. So here you are a tulip. So now it's metaphor. So the difference between simile and metaphor is simile is a comparison of two things using the word like or as, but metaphor is a comparison without using like or as. So let's move. Alliteration. Alliteration is very simple. Alliteration is the repetition of initial consonant sounds of neighboring words. So it's a repetition of consonant sounds, initial consonant sounds in nearby words. What is assonance then? Assonance is the repetition of initial vowel sounds of neighboring words. So that is the difference between alliteration and assonance. So there will be questions like what is the difference between simile and metaphor and alliteration and assonance. So these two, alliteration and assonance, are connected terms. So here alliteration is the repetition of initial consonant sounds of neighboring words. Next, there is one example. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. So each of the word begin with the letter S, the sound S. So a sound. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. So let's move. There are more examples. She left the heaven of heroes and came down to make a man to meet the mortal need, a man to match the mountain and the sea, the friendly welcome of the wayside well. So these are the lines from Edwin Markham's poem Lincoln, the Man of People. So you can see the example of alliteration in these lines. So the first lines, the initial sound of H, heaven of heroes, and look at the second line, to make a man to meet the mortal need. So there is a repetition of M sound, and third line as well, a man to match the mountains and the sea. So there is also a repetition of M sound, and the friendly welcome of the wayside well. So there is a repetition of W sound, V sound. So this is alliteration. This is very simple. So let's move. Next one is onomatopoeia. So you know what is arbitrariness is. So before we go through onomatopoeia, you have to learn what is arbitrariness is. Arbitrariness is a feature of human language that there is no logical or iconic relationship between the word and object. So this feature of language is arbitrariness. So here there is no logical or iconic relationship between the word and object. The shirt and the sound shirt and this object is not logically related. So there is no logical relationship between the word and the object. In other words, there is no logical or iconic relationship between the signified and the signifier. But there are some words. There are some words which represent its sound. So the opposite concept of arbitrariness is onomatopoeia. Here, an onomatopoeia is a word that imitates the sound it represents. Sorry, the object it represents. So here there is a logical or iconic relationship between the word and the object. This is onomatopoeia. For example, the chiming of the bells. The chiming of the bells is an example for onomatopoeia. So there will be more examples. The boom of the explosion. So the word boom represents its sounds boom. So there is a logical relation in between the signifier and signified, or the word and the object. That is onomatopoeia. There is one example. Twinkling sleigh bells, clanging fire bells, mellow chiming wedding bells, tolling morning and groaning funeral bells. So these are the lines from the poem The Bells by Edgar Allan Poe. So in this lines we can see there are a lot of examples for onomatopoeia. Tinkling, clanging, chiming, tolling, mourning, groaning. So all the words represents its sound. So next, hyperbole. Hyperbole is very important. Hyperbole is an exaggeration of things. So we are exaggerating something using the term. So here a hyperbole is an exaggeration or overstatement. Like I told you 1,000 times. I told you 1,000 times. So he didn't tell 1,000 times, 1 or 2 times. So here this is an exaggeration of things. So this kind of exaggeration is known as hyperbole. So let's look what are the examples. His feet are as big as boats. His feet is a little bit big, that is true, but not big as much boats. So here this is exaggeration of thing. So this is one of the typical example for hyperbole. I nearly died laughing. I nearly died laughing. So these two are typical examples for hyperbole. So there is one more example. Here once the embattled farmers, the short stood herd round the and fired word. So these are the lines from the Concord hymn by Ralph Waldo Emerson. So this is also a typical example for hyperbole. So next one is personification. Personification is very important, but it's very simple. It's very simple to understand. So here personification is giving human qualities to things that are not human. We are attributing some human qualities to some non-human things. For example, look at the example here. The moon looked down at me. The moon looked down at me. So this is a typical example. So here we give a human quality to moon. The moon looked down at me. So this is very simple, but normally poets are using the term personification to defamiliarize their text, to differentiate the language of literature from the language of common people, the language of conversation. Okay, let's move. Next one is idiom. Idiom is very simple and it's not important as much in exam point of view. A saying that means something different than what it says. So it's an idiom. Look at the example, you will understand. It's raining cats and dogs. It's raining cats and dogs. Here, author intends that there are so many cats and dogs. That's it. There is no raining of cats and dogs. This is simple. So here, we means something different than what it says. That is idiom. It's very simple, but least important in the exam point of view. Okay. So next one is oxymoron. This is very important. Oxymoron are words that are opposite used side by side. For example, a terrible beauty. There is a poem by W.B. Yeats, that is Easter 1916. There is a refrain. All changed utterly, a terrible beauty is born. So here the word terrible and beauty are two contradictory things. So here we keeps or keeps the two opposite concept together. So this is oxymoron, placing two opposite concept together side by side. Okay, this is oxymoron. Let's check the examples. Jumbo shrimp, hot chili, bittersweet. Bittersweet is a good example for oxymoron, bittersweet. Next and final one, palindrome. Palindrome are words that are the same spelled frontwards and backwards. Look at the examples, you can see the examples. Stanley Yelnats, Stanley. So from backwards, Stanley. Same. So these kind of words. So there is a syndrome. like palindrome syndrome. So that is a brain disorder, palindrome. So leave it, that's not the matter. So here palindrome is words that are the same spelled frontwards and backwards. Stanley Yelnats, race car, evil olive. So these are typical examples for palindrome. So in short, I'm going to conclude there. So today we have discussed so many figure of speech, simile, metaphor, alliteration, onomatopoeia, palindrome, idiom, etc. So this is all about figure of speech. Thank you. Have a nice day.